because we want to make music that's like overstimulating and to a certain extent unapproachable, and then beautiful sometimes too. But we want whatever it is that's in our heads to say about it. I guess just to say it only as much as you need to, as opposed to so many bands in deathcore, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but like they write music that's not particularly interesting, but the promotion of it is incredibly overstimulating and incredibly invasive. And we just didn't want to do that.
Real quick before getting into today's episode, just wanted to shout out a few quick things. First of all, we have a Patreon. For as low as $1.50 a month, you can get early access to these episodes as well as your name in the credits. And with the $5 tier, you can gain access to member-only channels in our Discord server, as well as be a part of the group calls that Yan and I do every second Friday. Secondly, we have merch. 2 designs that we absolutely love. You can find those over at indiemerchstore.com. And last but not least, we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, see these as they happen. We do those every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST. Yeah, that's it. Links to everything I just mentioned will be in the description, along with links to our Discord server and our other socials. That's it. That's all I got to plug. Enjoy the episode. Caleb, my man, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling pretty great.
Hell yeah, man. It's good. It's good to have you on here. We've been talking for a minute now. We've been anticipating this Coma Witch drop for a hot minute.
He's been talking about you guys since the second he heard about it. I'm just gonna tell you that.
No, man, it's cool. It's cool to see that to see the album is out, the reception so far. It's cool that we get to have this talk now. Last week we premiered a track before the album came out, and that was cool to talk to your vocalist as well. That was a fun time. So yeah, I'm eager to get some more perspectives into. I know it's been a long road to get here, so excited to dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, let's kind of start there. I mean, look, the new album, The End of Forgiveness, right? Am I crazy? That's the name. So, just came out last week. How's it been for you? How was the release, the reception? How have you been? How's it feel to finally get it out into the world?
It feels really amazing. The reception's been great. It's mostly just nice to be able to relax a little bit. I think like all albums or music is like a labor of love, but this one was like really, like, I don't know if I've ever put this much work into anything like in my life. So it feels really, really good. We decided on everything, had the single ready to drop and the album ready to drop, and I got out of town for a few weeks.
Yeah, so that's it. I think when we spoke on the phone for a little bit to kind of plan all this stuff out with this interview and the premiere. And yeah, you were out in the woods. You were telling me you had been done with the album for a couple days, I think, only at that point. You were like, yeah, I need to get out. I need to clear my mind. Yeah,
so that was really good. And just like the amount of like everything that possibly could go wrong went wrong twice or 3 times each, and trying to, with the, like, Stefan did an amazing job with the production. So not taking away from him at all, but we'd also never done that before. So like, that was really, really tough. For a while, we didn't know that we were going to have to do it ourselves either. So then it was like kind of a mad dash. We all saw like way too much of each other right at the end of the process. So it didn't, it helped because we got it done, but it definitely, like, tensions were high. We had a lot of stuff to figure out. So I'm feeling pretty amazing that it's done. And
so the album is out, but you guys all hate each other now.
We were very, very close to that. Yeah, we were very, very close to all hating each other, but I think we pulled through.
I mean, look, it's if you guys were able to get through that, I mean, sky's the limit at this point.
Yeah, and it was just because it took so long. Like the vast majority of like songwriting and all that sort of stuff, a lot of the lyrics had been done for like well over a year. We had a lot of time to lay the groundwork and the skeletons and stuff for what's coming next. So we're not finishing this and then immediately being like, oh, what do we do now? I never want to do that again. We already kind of have it going, and there are a lot of things we're going to do right this time that were rookie mistakes the last time.
Yeah,
You know?
we won't have to hopefully wait another 3 years for,
Yeah,
for the
definitely
next
not.
set of music.
Absolutely not.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'd love to kind of start from the beginning, because that's context that I don't have personally. How did it? Because we're talking about what you guys kind of started writing all this stuff kind of like 3 years ago, right?
I
Is
think
that kind of it?
2.5, 3 years ago.
Sure. So how did you guys initially kind of get together? Because from what I understand, you guys are all kind of from the same scene or in other bands, or some of the members are from the Hate Campaign. There's like, so how does everyone kind of come together for this project? How did it kind of initially spark?
So the band is, well, actually, for the other band that Stefan and Alice are in, I think they had been around a little bit longer, but the Coma Witch like well outlives anything else I'm doing. So another band I'm in is like a more of a metalcore band called Knives. We were trying to get that started. The singer is like one of my best friends, and he was like trying to put people together for it, and he did, and eventually it did really work out. But the first set of people he tried to put together were not exactly the right people, and so Andrea was like, "Oh well, I don't know if I want to do metalcore, but now I have like all these ideas, and I'm getting back into playing guitar." So we started writing a ton of stuff. And I didn't really know him, but he seemed really nice. So we started meeting up to like further flesh stuff out and kind of like get our chops back up to be able to play stuff like this. And then he's known Stefan forever. And Stefan started showing up. And we were like, "Oh, you're writing some of these riffs and stuff, so you should join the band." He was like, "All right, I'll show up every time now." It was actually really nice. And Alice knows Stefan through the other band they're in. Crippling Alcoholism, which is like a moody, like dark rock band. So
cool.
Totally different type of music, but I think them coming together often to write stuff that's difficult to listen to in a different way transferred over really, really well.
So
a natural process.
And it wasn't like we all like knew each other and we were like, "Oh, we want to start a band that sounds like this." It was kind of like us trying to start something else, something entirely different up, but some in there found the inspiration to do it this way.
Pretty crazy to hear that though, because honestly, I kind of assume, because it's to me, and we're going to get into that for sure, but like the styles that are mixed on paper, it makes sense, it's cool, but it's so difficult to blend that. Like we're talking like it might not be the best reference, but to mix like technical stuff with like super heavy like balls to the wall cycle frame stuff, like on paper it's like, sure, it's gonna be awesome, but to execute it and to make it work. So to me, I just assume it was like an intentional, just like, what if we do that? And hearing that right now, I'm understanding it's more of a natural, just like it came out like that.
Yeah, right? And as those things that are a little are juxtaposed, I guess, started coming into the songwriting process, then like well, it was well later when like we had an artistic or aesthetic cohesive vision. So once we wrote, like the fourth song we wrote is the last song on the album that has that big melodic outro. Like once we wrote that, we had to kind of go back and be critical of all the stuff we had done before. And, none of those first 3 songs we wrote before that one have stuff like that quite to that extent, but we were able to like go back and kind of in retrospect, like pull stuff into where we now understood we could go.
That's interesting, because I guess, especially if we're looking forward as well, like now you guys maybe have from the get-go a better grasp of the thing maybe that you guys are trying to achieve, right? As opposed to
definitely,
because I guess I'm a fan of how really diverse the album is. But I'm understanding that maybe that was just kind of a product of kind of navigating, through trying to figure out what you guys wanted as a sound, right?
Yeah, and then there's stuff like for me, like with the bass parts, like the first song we wrote was Synthetic Guilt Complex, which is like, I wouldn't say it's like an easy song to play, but compared to a lot of the rest of it, like we only get into this territory once, So I was like, oh, I have to like figure out how to actually do all the position shifts to like be able to really play it. But then I was like, oh, I can do that. Why don't we make something that's like even, why make it even harder for ourselves to play our own music.
Why not? Yeah.
Why
You know?
not? Yeah.
And then we wrote like To Testimony and spent like 3 months to try to get past the like first 30 seconds of it, you know?
Are you guys kind of getting together and like jamming stuff out, or are you guys just like recording, like straight to recording into a DAW? Like how are you guys writing? Yeah.
It was mostly recording. I mean, I think we've gotten together and we've like played bits and pieces of the album. We know we want to do shows eventually. So we have like a system that we are like, you know, we have a space to do it and kind of a rough framework that we know we want to do for rehearsals. But most of it was just like meeting up for like 10 hours a day and just, or like however much time we could. And just like cycling through like, oh, what comes next? What comes next? What comes next? Pairing it back to like, out of an hour of riffs or whatever we'd come up with, like pairing it back to like 30 seconds, 1 minute of stuff that we know we wanted to keep. And then just rinsing and repeating and driving ourselves completely fucking crazy.
That I fully believe you. I'm curious about something though. You're talking about process and just keeping certain riffs. I'm guessing it was not always anonymous. Like sometimes I'm guessing there was like not fight, but like a part you really want to keep. Do you recall if most of the time you guys were on the same page of just, oh, that makes sense? Or did you have like a few of those moments that you're like, listen, I think we should really keep that, like kind of fighting for a part or something like that? Did that like a few times happen?
Yeah, that definitely happened a few times. Okay. But I don't think it ever like ended up in, not that I can remember that it ever ended up in an argument. It's just that if someone was
to tell
like
the tale, so
yeah, like so there were a few like breakdown or like mosh parts that I had that I thought were really, really cool, but then like trying to put them into something, I'd be like maybe a little attached to it for a while, but then it's like in a nicer way than this, like Andrea would be like, okay, you got to get a grip that doesn't happen in the song. It doesn't work. It doesn't sound good. I'd be like, oh, well, yeah.
It's difficult to let go, like a really good breakdown. It's pretty difficult to let it go. It's never wasted though, because you wrote the breakdown. It's sick, and you guys are going to do other music. I'm just saying, it's not wasted, but sometimes it's difficult because it's like,
my man is in 10 bands too. I mean,
yeah, definitely. And I have
there's room to repurpose for sure.
Yeah, I have a lot of projects in the DAW that are just like riff banks that like roughly fit a certain vibe. You know, like I don't have a black metal band, but like sometimes, especially this time of year, sometimes that's just like the kind of stuff I come up with. So I have like a few hours of just like black metal tremolo riffs, you know, and I'll probably never use them, but most of them are pretty good.
Maybe it's gonna turn out to be, you know what I mean? Like
maybe
you could start like that, and then it's deathcore with like influences or
maybe. I mean, I think the end of I Want You Fucking Dead has a bit of a like a post black metal thing going on.
Death Haven, you know, type
and
stuff.
Alice is very cued into that sort of stuff, so I feel like wherever we're going for album 2, she'll probably bring a lot more of that stuff in, which I think that stuff is awesome.
It's fucking sick. It's I think I mean, crazy technical aside, right? Because it just, the basis of the crazy stuff makes it that there's not a million bands that do that sort of stuff, like just because it is so crazy and a lot of people most people just can't pull it off. But that aside, I think those sort of parts really like blend well and make it for a really unique mesh of the two. And I'm here for it if there's more of that. It's definitely
I think we're definitely gonna do that.
I Want You Fucking Dead hit, and I was like, oh hell yeah, this is fucking sick. And then the same thing with the last song. I really vibed with those two songs specifically for those vibes, which is, I guess, saying something, because I'm not much of a fan of when music goes to ambient or spacey or like that kind of general vibe, or black metal either for that matter. So all these things that we're talking about on paper aren't the kind of things that I typically enjoy, but for somehow with you guys it fucking works. So. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the stuff, I mean, there's plenty of black metal I really like, but a lot of the times I don't gravitate towards stuff that sounds like that because the bands take a good 15 minutes to get there, you know? And so for us, I think, at least in my head, I think part of the reason that stuff works out is that those are our long songs and they're like 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not
we keep everything pretty short and sweet. Yeah, and the like having the 8-song 25-minute album was like a big aesthetic and just like full package kind of goal I always had. But you don't want to force something like that on what you're making. So I'm happy that it turned out that way.
Yeah, kind of crazy because I like the word describing. I call it like post-hardcore parts. I don't know why my brain goes there, but like the super like ambient thing to me, it was more of a like, because I love that kind of music. It blew my mind the first time, because if you would have asked me like, is it possible to match like that kind of energy with that, I would have been like, dude, maybe, but it's gonna be out of place. But in the context of in the context of it, I think. Last week we talked a little bit about it, and it was basically he told me it was more of a natural thing that happened, right? It just that's what you wrote, and it worked, and that's the way to do it. But you might be, from what I heard, might be the only band doing it, blending those styles and doing it well. Like I've never heard that personally, so that's.
I also have. I mean, there's one, I think actually two songs on the Boy Will Drown album, Fetish, that kind of they go into that. They don't go into it as like a metal or like a black metal-y or like overwhelming kind of thing the way we try to. Like their overall sound doesn't change up that much, but they are playing those same types of chords, and that was a big inspiration too. There's that album is like one of my holy texts.
Okay, so we got because we're talking about it, we're gonna have to nerd out for a second.
Oh yeah.
The production on Fetish versus the demos or the EP before it of the same songs. Preference?
I liked the Fetish version better. I mean, there's less of a like, oh yeah, this is like fucking sick, brutal. Like there's a little bit less of that. But I just think it feels more cohesive. Yeah. The one thing I don't like about it, which may sound kind of weird, is I don't like how on Fetish how like omnipresent the bass is. Like the bass does all these really cool things, but then it's still like clanking away when it's not doing anything of note, and it's there to be the low end. But that always bugged me a little bit, and that was just a thing we tried to not do. We had like hours and hours of bass automation to be like, you're going to be able to hear it here. You're kind of going to be able to hear it here. You're not going to hear it for this whole part. We had like different volumes of automation for like felt versus heard versus perceived. And like stuff like that I think really came together good.
That's interesting you say that, but it's because it's definitely something I noticed. There's some flashier bass parts on the album that those you can really like hear a lot. And then not, it's not like that. It's not like it's that prominent all the way through, right? Which is a cool stylistic kind of approach to it. For the Boy Will Drown, I think. Personally, I really like the specific like bass tone that's being played awesome there. So in that sense, I was like, if you're gonna have a bass that's super fucking loud all the way through, if it's that tone, at least I'm fine with it, right? As opposed to just like a boo, 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 boo. I like the clanky, it almost sounds electronic. Like I don't know how to explain it,
like
but
it sounds like a cheap bass, but in a good way. I don't explain it. Like it sounds like, you know what I mean? Like it's loose. It's like a crappy bass, and that's kind of what
you're plucking at the strings. Like that's the kind of sound it makes. But I personally love that sort of sound. So at least on that front, it's weird too because the rest of that mix is like so polished.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a contrast to have like the bass be so gritty in comparison to
it is
the
really
super
cool.
clean mix. Yeah.
It is really cool. It's like my one thing about it that I was like, if we're going to make an album that does some of these same things, there's like, it seems weird. I don't know. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I like to think that I don't like have my head up my ass the way a lot of bass players do. And I was able to like zoom out and be like, okay, maybe they don't need to hear the bass and the entire breakdown.
Well, to your credit, we were talking about that off stream. It's one of the first things he says. He's like, and because it's fair to say it's a conversation we had quite a few times. I keep saying that the bass is usually like first underrated as a position in the band, and also maybe not. Oh my God, I don't have the word for it. Utilized, like it's not used enough, maybe But to your point, I can also see from your perspective, like it's not better if you do too much with it, probably. Then it's just like kind of a line here to it needs to be tasteful, maybe is the right word.
And I think that's just one of the awesome things about being in the recording scenario versus being in the live scenario. It's just that we can just automate this certain set of frequencies. Like the A path is like the clank that you're hearing. We can just like turn that off or turn it down, and all the sub frequencies that like the bass needs to be there to make it sound like brutal or whatever. All that stuff can be retained, you know, and it's like 100% felt and 0% heard. So we really went to town with that stuff. We did a bunch of that stuff with vocals as well, with like layering everything, where like there were some parts where we would turn one layer down all the way, and it'd be like, oh, do we really even need that there anymore? So then we'd play it with it gone, and it would just sound like shit. So we kept it, and we just developed a pretty good system for like automating stuff in a kind of a not intuitive way to make sure things sounded exactly the way you wanted to.
You're able to kind of test in real time. Like, okay, you take it away. You're like, oh wait, okay, that actually did add something. Let's put it back, just not as much. Or
and that was a very you know, we all had tons of opinions on it, but that was a very Stefan thing where he was like, I could describe all that to you. I definitely could not show you how it's done. So that was a lot of him coming up with like different exact volumes or numbers of decibels or whatever for something to be very heard, kind of heard, barely perceived, kind of felt, entirely felt. He had like the whole system for it.
Would it be like a fair statement to say that you guys probably spent like hours on like a few seconds sometimes?
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I was hearing through that at the same time.
Yeah, there's in the testimony after the, I guess, first groove section, there's like 15, 20 seconds or something like that before the part where like the time signature goes to hell. And that alone, that little segment, because we just couldn't come up with something that was good between those two things, that took like at least 3 months. Yeah, okay. Of meeting up like every day, pretty much. So, yeah.
Wow. When you finally got it, though, probably felt great. It
felt amazing. And then going through the rest of it, especially for that song, it was like pretty easy, as much as I can remember. So sometimes it's just those little bits. You can't make something sound good, you know. You just have to like bash your head into it forever.
Yeah, or just, you know, let time do its thing too, right? Like you say, it took 3 months, but it's just one of those things, I guess, like at some point someone was going to have an idea, right? It can't not have an idea for it forever, right? It's
essentially the part between the two cool parts, you know, like it's not bad by any means, but like we couldn't find the thing to bridge them, you know? But yeah, there was lots of things where we took a long time. And this was also like another production thing where we didn't really have the answers for some of the sounds we were trying to achieve. So a lot of time would go into like trying to get something to sound a certain way or sit a certain way. And then nailing it on the big 8-inch monitors and then going to Stefan's car and being like, oh, well, it sounds almost as good. And then going to Andrea's car and being like, oh, we can't hear the thing we did. And just like all the different sound sources, back and forth from the car, different pairs of headphones, having to make all this crazy high-tech music into a mix that sounds really good on AirPods, which, you know, no hate to Apple people, but AirPods are not necessarily the best sound quality source. So we had to make it sound amazing on what the majority of people who don't know anything about mixing are going to listen to it on.
I mean, yeah, that and fucking laptop speakers, let's be real too, right? So it's like it is weird to have that headspace, because there does get a point, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, or if it felt different for you guys, but there also does become a point where you can test it. You could always test it on an extra thing, like one more thing, and the more things you try it on, it's like inevitable that it's going to sound better on some stuff. And you could go in a cycle forever with trying to tweak your mix so that it works the best for all of them, but it's never gonna, right? You kind of got to stick to something at some point.
Yeah, we decided on, we obviously got to get sound good on the monitors. We would usually test on my headphones because they're solid, you know, good but not great. And we would test on Andrea's car because this doesn't sound bad, but it has a kind of an odd sound that he would refer to as very revealing. You know?
Okay.
So we'd always use his car.
I get that. Yeah, sure.
You know, we'd use his car for the car tests at the end.
Yeah. The final vibe check.
Yeah. Because if something sounded right on there, we knew that it was going to sound right on the other cars.
Else. Yeah.
You know,
We were talking about bass and stuff, but you play guitar too. Were you playing guitar on any of this stuff too?
Some of it. A lot of those like ambient tremolo picked leads and stuff that are in the breakdown. Like there's a long one in Trauma Queen, Synthetic Guilt Complex. I did a bunch of those.
Or I guess just in like helping with coming up with parts and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Grabbing a guitar too to try to help out.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone in terms of like writing, coming up with stuff, I think everybody did everything. I'm pretty sure. And I think on the final product, Stefan, Andrea, and I think we all did guitar, bass, and vocals at one point or another. So
that must be such a cool. I don't know. It seems like foreign. Like you say it like you just said it, and you think about it for a second. And it seems so foreign to how most people make music nowadays.
Yeah,
right? And I say nowadays, but it's never really been like that either. But the idea sounds like cool as fuck to be like everyone contributed to everything on this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, there's something cool about that.
It is really cool. I mean, when I was younger and I was starting to get into music, like I had no idea. Like I kind of assumed that it just like materialized. And the guitarist was like, "Oh, I have these riffs," and the bassist was like, "Well, I can also play them, so I'll do that."
The same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then the drummer was just like on time, and then they called the singer and they were like, "What's something fucked up?" And he was like, "All right, here we go." I just kind of figured that's how it always was. I'm sure it is for some people, but for us it's always like everybody has input on everything. Like I'm not a fantastic guitarist by any means, but I can do this a lot faster than anyone else. So I had all these guitar parts that ended up being on me to do, you know.
Yeah.
So
that
is cool.
Yeah. There is like something there also with like being in the studio and people not having egos about it. Because I think that's what it comes down to a lot of the times. When people not doing that, it's no, I'm the guitarist, I'm gonna track the part. But like the example you're giving is like, well, hey, let's just use the person that's best for the job for this one specific thing that we need right now. Like who cares who it is, right?
Yeah. There's tons and tons of vocal takes from like pretty much everybody too that we didn't end up using. And like some of them people really liked, but by the end of it, we had gotten the thing, you know. We did the thing that sounds best for the part, so we kept those. There's on Detestimony, in that like little break between the song and the breakdown, there's that like bass part that's going through the, I guess, noise stuff. And Stefan was like, "Oh, well, we should have just like a cool little bass thing in there, but not like a crazy technical one." It turns out like I'm completely incapable of coming up with anything that's not that on bass, you know. And he was like, "Well, do something, just do like chromatic. It doesn't even matter." And like he knows about music. I don't know shit about music. I'm like all points into dexterity. So I was like, "Well, I don't know what that means," you know. So he ended up just playing that part. I don't even know if I stayed the whole time. So no ego about it at all.
No, it needs to be what served the song. What I think is interesting too is that being all together, you know, for the mix and everything, like I think it's gonna affect maybe possibly the next time you're gonna write together in some ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you saw the whole process, right? You have an idea. So I'm kind of guessing those tools are gonna be useful in terms of writing process, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to next time, especially for the next full length, we're going to, as we're doing it, try our best to be putting things into the demos that we know we can keep, so that we don't have to redo absolutely everything. And then like something that happened to me with the bass was like getting the final takes. I just like hadn't slept in so long that I didn't realize my battery of my bass was dying for the pickups. So I finished the album front to back. And I was like, "Oh my God, thank God it's over." And I listened to it and you could hear the battery degrading song by song. So I had to re-record the entire album over again. So like to avoid stuff like that, which like took a couple of years off my life probably, you know, we're I think through this whole experience, we're definitely going to be like, I guess, figuring out ways to like pre-mix things like understanding sonically, like songwriting wise, if we can do whatever we want, if we like it, we'll keep it. But sonically understanding what's a good idea and maybe what's just not really a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You
Or
know?
what works specifically for you guys in the context, and maybe what's not.
Yeah.
Exactly
And
what you want to do.
like stuff like getting better, like a lot of our whammy pedal moments in the breakdowns and stuff like that. I mean, some of it was, but like a lot of that stuff very easily could have just been automated in the DAW, you know, and then we would have had that track as that thing forever. But like we didn't do it, like just some certain stuff that we were like inconsistent on or rookie mistakes. Like we're definitely going to correct a bunch of that. This album sounds great, but I think the next is going to sound even better because we'll be more prepared. Yeah.
Just a quick second to talk about the sponsor of today's episode, Indie Merch Store. Indie Merch Store's Tale from the Wares collection is back just in time for Halloween. Spooky designs are in stock and shipping now. You can pick up officially licensed merchandise from your favorite horror movie classics, along with your favorite bands. Restocks and new items have been added, including some popular tees from their previous Halloween drops. We got some Infant Annihilator, Carcosa, Shadow of Intent. Check it out over at indiemerchstore.com. Despised Icon have a brand new line of album-inspired merch for their upcoming album Shadow Work, which drops on October 31st. You can pre-order a limited vinyl, CDs, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeves, track shorts, beanies, and dad hats all over at indiemerchstore.com. Be sure to check out their latest single, The Apparition, out now. You can use code BRUTALITY at checkout to save 10% off of your entire order. Again, that's code BRUTALITY at checkout for 10% off. A massive thank you to Indie Merch Store for supporting the show. And now, back to the episode.
For the mix and master, you guys initially were at a studio, right? To try and have that done not by yourselves before doing it yourselves. Okay, can you kind of walk us through kind of what the situation was there?
So we were there for a bunch of the summer, and you know, like a couple of times a month. And we figured, and this was a good idea in hindsight, being there in person with all of us, or at least most of us there every day.
Right. So, sorry. I guess maybe for the full context. So you guys kind of like tracked everything yourselves.
Yeah.
And then we're going to a studio to get it mix mastered, but to be there in person with the person doing the mix.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because of all the layers and like all that kind of, and because we have an unhealthy relationship with the music. And so it was a good idea for us all to be there. But like after a while, you know, it was just lots of time. We were getting closer to our you know, I say deadline, but
self-imposed, but yeah.
Yeah. And just not always getting the sound we wanted. And then eventually just having put so much money into it that we wouldn't, you know, it was getting insane. We were not going to end up getting what we wanted, you know?
So some people, it would have been a sunk cost fallacy type of thing. Like, well, we already put this much money, may as well put the rest, you know? So it is something to be like, nah, fuck this. We're going to
we had to get it done.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And we thought about like just all the other opportunities we had would have been sending it to people that we weren't going to be able to be there in the room with, which in the past, like we had tried and it just never went out. It never went well. We never liked what we got. So we were like, you know what? Our demos sound pretty good. If we can just get a better version of that, we're just going to do it ourselves. And like that kind of like snowballed into like a complete insanity, but we did it. We finished it, you know?
Yeah. You guys got together for a while to do that, right?
Yeah. For I guess about a month, probably. We were just whoever had free time, everyone was just there, for whatever. So we had like lots of like 10, 12-hour days, some of them even longer. You know, people like showing up to the studio, it's not really a studio, but showing up to our jam spot with the computer and everything, and then leaving to go to work and then coming back when the work was over and then staying there until the security guard was like, well, you guys are really nice, but you have to fuck off. You know,
Well, for being too much at the studio.
Well, yeah, they just don't want you there that late, and there were so many nights we could.
Okay, for being there too late. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, we could have gone there. We could have stayed all night if they had let us. But yeah, it was probably about a month of just like crazy.
Looking out for you guys. He's like, go sleep.
Yeah. There's a guy who I don't know if he's a security guard or if he just works there. He's a really nice guy, but he's there almost all the time. So a lot of time we'll show up just like completely defeated, and like our eyes will be all fucked up, and like one of us will be limping, you know, and he'll be like, oh, death metal guys, hey, here to cause some trouble. Guys, finished your album yet? You know, he's a nice old guy. He's not trying to be a dick, but it was like every day starting with that, you know, and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's a cool shirt, man. He'd be like, thanks, fucking love death. You know, he's just like this very like silly guy. So yeah, that guy kept us going for a while.
Yeah, after a certain point, you just had to prove him wrong, right? You just had to get it done so you could be like, yeah, it is done.
Yeah,
shut up.
Yeah, we just had to finish it. And when we did finish it, the only other time I was there between finishing it and now, I ran into him. He was like, "Oh, Caleb, you finished your album?" And I was like fugue state, and I was like, "Yeah." And it's just like, "Oh, okay, well, I hope you like it." You know, so hopefully I didn't make him sad.
It's almost like part of it. Like it's at this point, it's like it's the whole process almost, and he's always there. Yeah,
but I mean, they've I'm sure been there to do certain stuff, but I have not been back in that room since I got back to town. I'm still detoxing.
Yeah, I feel that.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah, and I have some recording stuff going on for other bands, but I haven't been like spending a ton of time writing or putting all that much time into doing music stuff. I have some like physical health stuff going on as well, so I've just been trying my best to relax a little bit. But it has been super awesome, the reception to the album, getting to read like the 9.5 reviews, stuff like that. You know, seeing that people actually, I mean, we're not making millions by any means, but seeing that people actually buy deathcore on Bandcamp, which is crazy to me. I always thought of Bandcamp as like the indie jazz kind of world, you know, and for metal, it tended to be the artsier stuff.
Sure.
But it seems like there's an audience for deathcore on there too, which is nice.
I mean, speaking of the release and stuff, like, I mean, you guys got, you know, the album finished, and you guys didn't waste much time between having it in your hands and putting it out. You guys put out a song, and the next week the album was out. There was no 3-month teaser movie trailer.
No, we didn't want to do any of that stuff.
How unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I guess that there's like at the risk of sounding like pretentious, I think the avenues for promotion that were available when you're going to do it that way were just not things that really appeal to us, you know. Like we just weren't interested in, you know, like
whoa, okay, now whoa, chill out, dude.
well I mean like reaction channels or something like that. It's like,
I'm kidding.
So it's like no hate to people who do that stuff, but it's just not how we wanted to go about it. We wanted to like really let the music speak for itself, you know, because we want to make music that's like overstimulating and to a certain extent unapproachable, and then beautiful sometimes too, you know. But we want kind of like whatever it is that's in our heads to say about it. I guess just to say it only as much as you need to, you know.
Yeah, there's Yen and I were talking about this. We were like, yeah, I was like, you know, they could have done a little bit more in the ways of promo, but in the same breath, I was like, the music is so fucking good and fucking batshit crazy. It'll do the work for sure. You know,
that's what we were hoping, you know, and so far it's been really, really great. And I guess that's another weird parallel. Something that I really like about black metal is that those bands, like half of them, like they straight up like would never make an Instagram because it's not a black metal thing to do or whatever.
I'm gonna confirm they do though. They have an Instagram. They comment quite a lot.
The fans are different. We're talking bands.
The
here.
fans. I'm talking about the fans. Okay,
The fans
okay.
certainly comment a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Just I wanted to just chime in because they're a big part apparently of my comment section. So they do, but the bands themselves. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and just the attitude of like we're only gonna say what's necessary, and like we don't even necessarily like want you to know who we are or what we're about, and like obviously we're not taking it that far, but I do kind of like that ethic. It kind of feeds in with the DIY sort of thing. We're like we're gonna mix it
darker, maybe too, like just more obscure. Like you're talking about dark, the black metal. I think it's part of the appeal that it's more. You know what I mean? Like it kind of defeats the purpose if you're just like, hey, look at me playing. It's like it breaks the darkness of
for sure. So we wanted to have like a little bit of mystery, at least when it comes to announcing things. Because we're all very personable people, but I think just as a band, we wanted to come off a little bit more as like, I don't know, just a little more obscure, and I think, go ahead. Sorry. Oh no, I think that maybe not all at first, but I do think that can attract people to something, where it's like the music is really overstimulating, but the promotion of it and the general presence of it is pretty low key. As opposed to so many bands in deathcore, and I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but like they write music that's not particularly interesting, but the promotion of it is incredibly overstimulating and incredibly invasive. And we just didn't want to do that,
Taking a page out of the Psycho Frame book, I see.
Yeah. And they're a big inspiration too. And I just love that. I love their like kind of sassy attitude, And they'll just be like, oh yeah, this is out now. I'll talk to you at some point. Like they just have that kind of vibe that I really love.
Especially early on. Like early, it was very like, we don't give a fuck about anyone. Here's our music.
Yeah. I really like that. That was why I got into it.
Fuck you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, that was what drew me to them initially. Was just that I didn't really know anything about them.
Yeah.
Like I knew the people involved that were at one point involved with other things, but it was really appealing to me was just that I couldn't have proven any of it, which I really like that.
No, it's cool. I mean, we're talking about Psycho Frame. I think it might have been like music aside, because I think even musically it's cool to have like that kind of aggressivity in your music. But that was what we discussed outside of the stream, was that Psycho Frame at first, now they have videos and stuff, right? But when they released, it was like just basically a cool artwork EP, and everybody still was talking about it because it was insane. So there's something to be said about the music is going to speak for itself if you do something interesting and it's done.
And a cool aesthetic, right? I think that's the other aspect to it. It doesn't have to be a music video. It can be just like tasteful, cool graphic design, or just, a cool presentation to the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. We wanted to do that with our art too.
And you did.
Because we didn't really have any like, when we started to talk about it, we didn't have any like real references for what we really wanted it to look like. So I just made a bunch of shit, and 2 of them really stuck. And I think that like lurid green and like a deathcore or death metal or whatever album with a woman on it who's like at least not obviously in a horrible situation kind of sticks out. It's like it has a little more like muted and pretty rather than something really gory. And then for the Bombing Eden cover of just like, I don't know if this is how it came through, but I always imagine like someone's head being shoved through a windshield. So we wanted like the initial statement to be like really violent and unpleasant, and then have an album that, just show where that song is at, and then have an album that visually is kind of hinting at where we're going to go. That's really at least how I thought about it. And I wanted the logo to just be crazy. So.
Yeah. The logo is fucking badass.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that. It's
insane.
Did you do the logo?
Yeah, I have
because I know you did like all the graphic design work for the band so far,
I did all the art, and for the physicals that are coming out, I did the whole layout and like the back covers and all that sort of stuff. But for the logo, this one's broken because I like crunched it up. I was like annoyed with something.
Mhm.
But I had never done a band logo before, so I'll see if I can show it. I just
Yeah,
did
yeah.
it like that. I
Okay.
just drew it on my phone and then screenshotted it, and then like tried to remove the background and failed a bunch of times. But eventually it worked. And I actually think the background remover stuff I was trying out cut out bits and pieces
Mm,
of the spikes, and I think they
okay.
actually like look cool. Like they look like unnatural in a way that I didn't intend, but I think looks cool.
It was trying to help you and you didn't know it. The
Yeah,
background thing. So
yeah. But I'm trying to get more into that sort of stuff because I don't know what I'm doing, but I think it comes out really good.
it was super sick. I think it's one of the first things we talked about. To be fair, not to cut you off, Dom, but I was just about to say, like we talked about the artwork almost instantly. One of our first thing we said is, thank God, like the green is not utilized enough. Like it's not used in deathcore. Like the only image I have is back in the days Annotation and Autopsy and bands like that a little bit, but we don't see those colors a lot, and it works. It's sick, specific. So it was a good choice with the whole aesthetic, I think.
And you were telling me a little bit about the process of like making that artwork, because I think most people would assume it's just like a Photoshop thing, but there was like way more that went into.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
can
like
you speak to that? Because I think that's like super fucking interesting, that how you were explaining it to me on the phone.
yeah, parts of it. I wish I had it here, but I don't. But parts of it are just I had that image of the woman, and I had a couple other like layered assets or whatever that I really really liked. But some of it is like stained water that was worked into it. There's a picture of the inside of a planetarium that's like pulled as like a strip through it,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one with like honey and water and just like stuff smeared all over it, and then it's like scanned, and then
Right, because you're saying all these things, but it's like we're talking
this.
but we're talking all these things you're saying is like is physical. Like this isn't it's not
Yeah,
like
it's like
images pieced from the internet or whatever. It's like a collage of things, right?
Yeah, it's like a mix of internet pictures and my collage and physical stuff that's then processed to look like more pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all kind of mixed together and then finally edited together digitally so that it's not a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to not all the album art stuff I've done has that, but I try to use stuff like that. I'm trying to get better at it. I want to get some sort of setup in which I don't, because I lose a lot of quality when I'm just like taking pictures of shit with my phone.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Using
Like
a lamp or
some
something.
sort of camera or scanner or something to take better quality photos and shit.
Yeah, but for the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing and a bunch of stuff went wrong and pieces of paper fell apart, I think it came together great.
It's the coolest thing about all of that, and I mean that in a good way, is that usually, right, when you say you play bass like in a band or something, people have the image that like person comes in, does his part, and come out. You did so much on like the artwork, the logo, part of the mixing process, writing. You played some guitar and stuff. So to me, it's just interesting. And again, it's not because I love bass, but in general, when someone is like, "Oh, I play bass," the general image is just like, "Oh, okay, so." Right, like he followed low.
The meme is that the merch guy is more important than the bass player, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to buck that trend a little bit, and I like having aesthetic control, you know. And if the direction I'm taking things is a way that everyone else involved really likes, then I'm gonna push that even harder. And because I think all the best bands or movies or brands or whatever it is, like it's not just that they have a good product, it's like they're aesthetically realized in a way that makes you really really want to go there, you know. When I say go there, I guess I was talking about show flyers in that sense. But it's the same sort of thing.
To buy or to consume or to whatever, like to enjoy.
Yeah, and especially with the internet nowadays too, like I think there's a certain sense of like, I don't know, of like having like an Instagram grid or a website or whatever just like look a certain way and be very pleasing to even to just skim. I think that sort of stuff sticks in people's heads sometimes more than the music does the first time you hear it. You know?
It needs to be I see it as like entering in the band's or the project or the person's universe, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's worth spending time building your universe. It sounds
Yeah.
super, I couldn't sound more corny, but the way I see it is it's really that, because there's so many, I feel like so many projects that could have been maybe more consistent on, and it would have helped them a lot. Sometimes I see that, and the opposite works so, it works so much better. Like Psychoframe was a good example, so I'm going to take Psychoframe. Their world it's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
You walk, like you feel like it's part of, you're part of something, and you kind of want to know who those people are. You're just like,
Yeah.
it's insane. There's kind of like the colors, the whole aesthetic. When you think about it, like I'm talking about it right now, and you guys, you have images about it, like images are popping up. That kind of thing, I feel like it's worth spending more time. Maybe you guys said it took like 3 years, all the projects that I'm hearing, it's worth spending time on those things, because honestly, the experience, it's gonna put you like, and again, not to sound pretentious, it's going to put you still above, and it's going to be more interesting, and people are going to latch on to it way more, I think.
Yeah, that's the hope. And we're super proud of how it all came together. Psychoframe was a big inspiration for that, because they like, the way you say it with like worlds, it makes a lot of sense. I was really into those when I was younger. I mean, they're still cool, but I was really into those like H.P. Lovecraft short stories, and just like these like desolate planets filled with like these like abstract cosmic monsters and stuff that he would describe. It's something I kind of get from Psychoframe, like all these like weird, like lurid looking, like fleshy monsters they have on their covers. They all feel like they came from the same physical place.
Yes.
Like some cave made of skin somewhere. It's just like it like draws you in such a cool way. And yeah, we definitely were really inspired by that.
I think that, like back in the day, it used to be cool artwork was maybe the thing that got you from picking up that particular CD in a
100%.
CD rack versus another album, right? Like I think we've all been there, we've all done that. But now, it's not that anymore. But I think now more than ever, like with everything being online and digital and social media and all these things, I actually think there's like even more potential to like more fully realize some of those visions, and to go into a band's world, and to fully get into a thing like I don't know, like a band like Sleep Token, like the way they write things, the style of their artworks, the way they communicate with all of their posts, all their things, like it becomes like I don't know, that used to only be reserved for like picking up a CD in a store and maybe a poster in a magazine. But now it's like, it can be more of a whole thing. And I mean, to Yan's point, like, I mean, there's so much fucking music that comes out, man. Give me a cool vibe. Yeah, exactly. Give me a cool vibe to look at, and I might check it out. Like 1,000%. And it has nothing to do with like the quality of it or how much you paid for it or any of these things. Just give me like something I can vibe with. Just give me a vibe. Give me like something that makes me feel, and then I'll probably listen to the music. And obviously if it matches. But yeah, it's just it's hard now to get people's attention. You hope that just the music will do it, but you still, to a certain extent, have to get that music in front of people's eyes in the first place, into people's ears in the first place. So I don't know. I'll I do some graphic design. I always have a soft spot for a band that puts some care into their into the whole world, for sure.
Yeah, we want to keep as much of that sort of stuff internal as possible. Just the more control we have over the look and the sound and the attitude, I think the better. And as a bonus, we don't have to pay anyone to do it.
Yeah.
Which is really nice too. Yeah.
And it's cooler. It is really like knowing that you guys did all of that. It's adding something to it. I think so. And
I'm more proud of it as a result too, which is a good feeling. It's not that I'm not proud of. I wouldn't have been proud of it if someone else made the artwork, but I was like, all these visions that these songs have been putting into my head for years, I was able to put them into this like mixed media project that I wasn't even thinking about the album when I was putting together. And then at some point within the next couple of months, I'm gonna be able to hold square foot of it. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's just really, it's very fulfilling. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's
made a
really
lot of other artwork that is within that same style color scheme. That is going to be the back cover and the inside covers,
layout and
stuff like that.
Oh,
There's a ton more.
And
There's like
on merch.
yeah, maybe on merch. Yeah. But there's like I have it on my phone. I can send it to one of you guys at some point. There's a whole spread I made. There's like a total of like 25 images that are associated with the album cover.
Okay.
And some of them, the centerpiece is more like I found this old picture of a overgrown World War I fort, and I like worked that into it. And I found another picture of like a mummy, and I like positioned them so that it looked like the mummy was like almost flying over it like a vampire. Like it sounds silly, but it looks actually really
the
sick.
image I have is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
You're talking to two nerds right now, so for us, it's like it's really cool. I'm speaking for both of us, but to me, it sounds pretty cool.
I'll allow it.
And just stuff collected from like collage stuff collected from medical textbooks and just like all kinds of nasty shit that I think came together looking really, really cool. So hopefully on the physical releases, some of that stuff will be in there.
Yeah,
and it's part of it, right? Like you're describing it, but it's like I see the same passion and thoughts as when you were describing how you build the music itself. So
yeah,
I feel like people maybe would benefit more to give the importance it deserves, like whether even if it's not you doing the artwork, right? It's you can still have a concept, you can still as opposed to just like, oh, we're gonna take this because it's like a cool zombie and that's gonna be like the
AI art like, nowadays.
That's don't get me started on. That's another. Unfortunately I'm the kind of person who's like, if your artwork is made out of AI, I really doubt that I'm gonna even pay attention to what.
Well,
you did
it's about the care, right? It's about the effort that someone's willing to put into their art. I think that's exactly what it comes down to, and it's like the polar opposite of what we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think there's always telltale signs of AI art. I've gotten pretty damn good at spotting that stuff. And at the same time, it's like they're listening to music. There's telltale signs that people just wanted to get it over with. They didn't really care how it came out. And a lot of those signs, those two things exist together.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's when you see the difference, right? Not to go back on that whole topic, but when I was talking about building a world, a universe, if you pay attention to any big movies that came out, anything that is timeless, considered timeless, all those things has a consistent, great universe within it. It's for
100%.
sure part of it, even down to like an example, freaking John Wick, right? It looks pretty simple, but they've built a universe, it works and people are loving it. So from the outside, people are like, well, it's just fighting. No, it's not, because they've built something around it. The characters, I don't remember the name, but the place that they go in, they're safe. I can never remember whatever the
Continental Hotel.
Oh, exactly.
I think
it's part of it, right? Like that thing makes it special. So isn't it kind of a proof of just like everything that works really well, even like the biggest bands or whatever, they have a universe. It's just not just people being like, here's that song and I don't care about the rest. Things that are timeless are built universe and worlds.
There's something to be said about just, like some people just like make music to make music and they don't it's not that deep to them and they're just putting out stuff and that's fine, right? But to your point, like if it's going to stand the test of time, if it's going to truly be something that's going to be great, I think those things are kind of a prerequisite for sure. And look, if that's not what you're looking to achieve, more power to you, but
and it's okay.
I'm a sucker for the good stuff. I'll say that.
Yeah, just the care of it, as you guys were talking about. I think you said it earlier, but it's the care. It's just that's you know, as someone who's connecting strongly and weirdly to the artists that I'm listening to, I care about the people and stuff like that. But to see that level of care, I think it also, and I might be wrong, but if you look at those bands, like we were talking about Psycho Frame once again, so I keep bringing.
We used to have a counter on stream where we kept track of how many times we bring them up. Apologies.
We're obvious big fans of Psycho, but it's just, you know, you look at their fans, and usually, and again, I could be wrong, but those bands who put that, you know, attention and care in it, look at the amount of support they get from their fans as well, in terms of just like wanted to supporting the band and buying
these
their
like
things.
culty kind of fan bases that are made out of those sort of bands, for sure.
They can feel that, right? Like you want to support. You see,
well, you're just more invested. There's more to be invested in, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly. You're part of something. It's an experience. It's a special escape from reality for a moment. And I'm saying that positively as someone who's constantly escaping from reality and different things. So it's cool for the people who are just like, they feel the care and they feel that they're part of the experience, and it's an experience in itself. So I think it's all of it is part. So it's right. Really cool.
Last thing on this, look, if you're saying you've got extra panels left over after the fact, after the spread, you're doing some social media posts. You gotta like reutilize these in in different ways, right? Like that can't go to waste, because I either way, I want to take a look at these. I'm super curious, but in the grand scheme of things, you use that stuff, man.
Well, for a different, the way I'm planning on doing it, I haven't brought it up to everybody, but I think it's a good idea. Where we're going to eventually, you know, we'll have multiple pressings of the different physical formats over time. You know, the album cover is going to stay the same, but everything else layout wise, I'll start utilizing some of the other panels.
Like the colored Gorilla Glass editions that are different colors and stuff.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I have a couple. I haven't totally been satisfied with any of them yet, but I do have a couple alternate color takes of the album cover, which is hard to do because if I did do everything from just pictures online, then it'd be easy. But with all the different stuff that's just like naturally a certain color, it'll be tough. But I have a few of them that are kind of cool. Eventually, we'll probably put it out, an instrumental version out somewhere, and maybe we'll use. Like, I have a very like Psycho Frame-ish sort of color scheme for the album cover that I was thinking would be cool for the instrumental. But we'll see. I don't know. We have to go back into the album project file if we want to make it instrumental, and I don't know if we're ready for that. Like emotionally,
not yet.
Emotionally, maybe too difficult for us. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We went through a lot of, I'm going back to the recording process. We talked about pretty much everything, but I'm noticing we didn't speak much about the lyrics, maybe? Like, I would just be curious to know how it came, like, in terms of process. Like, you guys are together on most things, so I'm just curious to know, like,
lyrical ideas or,
how does that work?
I mean, I'd say well, for lyrics, it's the same as everything else. The way it works is just whoever has the best idea gets the lyric, and then whoever has the best idea gets the rhythm, and then whoever sounds the best, because like a lot of times all of us will record every line. Whoever sounds the best for the part, we'll just use that, and sometimes the second runner-up is going to get a layer on it or something like that. We also, when we were doing all the final vocal recordings, we had Chris from Hate Campaign come in and record a lot of lows. And just in general, he was there for so much of it during those sessions that we kind of gave him a lot of creative control to like kind of tell us what our missteps were vocally. So there's a lot of stuff where his voice isn't on it, but the rhythm or what's there, or sometimes what isn't there anymore, is a result of him being like, no, you got to do this. I know, he's very much in a good way. He's kind of a purist. He has like a very specific idea of what this kind of music is supposed to sound like. So obviously we don't always fit that, but when we do, he had all these like razor sharp ideas for how it should work. So
it must be interesting to you know, on the, you guys weren't working with like a producer, right? It was you guys, right? But it must have been cool to have someone kind of from the outside come in and have also a fresh perspective on music that was pretty much already done, right? And to be able to look at it with fresh ears for the first time and not be as invested as the four of you, you know.
It was extremely helpful, and Chris is like the perfect person for that, because he's really not like someone who minces words, you know. Like if something, like he's able to be just as critical and just as comfortable with us as we're able to be with each other, you know. So there were a couple things that like we had, that they had been in, they were still in because they had been in for so long, and they weren't that great maybe, but we were used to them. We almost to the point where you don't hear them anymore. Where he was like, well, this is the part with the guitar. You can't have vocals there. They're in the way of what the song's about. And we're like, well, we wrote the song. He's like, I don't care. Like, that's not how that works, you know? And it was really helpful. So there's plenty of parts where like stuff like that happened.
That's cool. What about like, I guess we're talking a bit of specifically like on the recording process, but what about like coming up with ideas for just a general theme for a song? Or are there overarching themes that come, you know, into multiple songs? Or like, I'm curious about a bit of the lyrical content here.
I guess we have sets of songs that have a similar overarching theme. Like, you know, we have 2 songs that tend to deal with more substance abuse issues and emotional issues and mental health and stuff like that. And we have a couple other songs that are basically just about revenge and killing people. But we try to take, if we have one overarching thing that we apply to every song lyrically, is like a real sense of like absurdity and like stuff that like doesn't really, it grammatically makes sense, but like that you wouldn't really think of, or like sounds like really out of pocket or ignorant, or like not exactly all right to say, but that fits the vibe of the music, you know? Like we have on Trauma Queen, we have this big part, you know, you betrayed me, you became something I grew to hate. And it's, you know, it's deathcore lyrics, and it's delivered rhythmically and satisfying and stuff like that. And then later we wanted to just like throw something into a part because we didn't have much time, because it was one of like these riffs. And we were like, I know you're not a looker, I'll call you Stevie, bitch. And we kept it, you know? So there's some like really absurd, like weird shit in there that we're like, you know what? We want to, if it's going to be like stimmed out kind of and just like over the top, we want the lyrics to reflect that. We want to find like absurd ways to say, you know, deeper, darker feelings that I think everybody has, you know?
I think that comes across in some of
the
call outs and stuff too. It's kind of over the top for the most part. And
oh yeah. Like that was another thing with Chris, where there were a few where we were like, you just say something that's like really ignorant and like base it off of a couple of buzzwords, and he's like, I got you. And he did some really good ones. And he's really into like EDM and rap and stuff like that. So that's sort of like those parts where you're like hyping something up. Like he's just naturally tapped into stuff like that, you know? And he does a bunch of vocals for Hate Campaign. When we were playing live, he's only on guitar, but so many of his ideas are just like, it's all about like momentum and just like being ridiculous and like being really convincingly angry while saying something that's maybe a little silly.
Yeah,
you know?
you just got to say it with confidence, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and Bombing Eden is like, maybe the name implies that there's some sort of like blasphemous thing going on, but it's more about getting too caught up in some sort of like party life, trying to please other people too much. And that's why the narrator is murdering this person. But it is about something real, you know? And so we try to approach every perspective of every, I guess, character throughout the song. And then we have Chris to signal the breakdown, come in, and like as if he's kicking the door down and smacking the beer out of your hand. It's like, sober up, bitch. This party's fucking over, you know? And it just came together in a way that was like really satisfying.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, man. He does he does a lot of he does the pig squeals too, right?
He does a bunch of the pig squeals. He does a lot of the like low false chords. there's a few of those like cricket or like predator vocal parts that he does as well, which he just does that sometimes unprompted as a joke. And I was like,
thought
oh,
that
dude.
shit was dope.
It's really cool.
If that was like the only vocal style on the album, I'd be like, come on, guys. But like it just like sparingly in the places where it is, I'm like, hell yeah, I fuck with this.
I think it's a really good accent, and I don't know I really don't know if everyone in the band is into this stuff. Alice and I are both really into like grindcore and like gore noise and just like real like sicko shit. And all of those vocals like sound like a big gulp with a pitch shifter, you know? And we wanted to have like a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And I think it came out really well.
Because I see it as like, because as someone who's like, you know, I don't know, I like slam and like whatever grindcore and stuff, and you have those vocals are just ridiculous, but yet pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just adding layers that you don't hear much, and I'm here for it.
And we wanted to use them as accents, like kind of the same way the bells are used, or a little bass sweep is going to be used, like rather than having them be center stage and like risk being like Monster Noise of the Year, Tom Barber blah breakdown band, you know? So
it's 100% stimming. Like it's just to feed the ADHD. It works on me. So I'm here
I think
for
it sounds awesome. And just like stuff like that, like that always really gets me with music. Like Psychoframe does that too. Sometimes they'll bring out these like pitched vocals that are like so sick, and they're sick while it's happening. I love it. But what really makes me happy is like kind of waiting until they come to another part where they can bring that out again. You know? We wanted to have stuff like that where it's like, this has happened once, you know, it's in the mix, it's going to happen again, probably 3-4 times. And you're just going to have to like, trying to give you the anticipation, like to get to each milestone of like, oh shit, it's coming back, you know? And the same thing with the melodic parts, where it's like, we have right in the middle of the album, we have a really, really big one. And then at the end of the album, we have another big one. And then placed a little bit in between. There's a more melodic sort of part in Trauma Queen before the breakdown. It's a little bit of like a behemoth sort of thing. We really like to like inject that stuff in little places because I just think it builds the momentum, it builds the anticipation. If you know what's in our toolbox, but we're looking at it, you're not looking inside.
Yeah. I mean, it's
kind of hoping that it comes back.
Yeah,
it's like maybe it won't, but
it's funny because we had this conversation with Andrea last week, but I was saying how the part at the second half of I'm terrible with I Want You Fucking Dead, like the whole ending to it. I was like, as I was listening to the album from start to finish, got to that part, and I was like, oh my god, this is so sick. But this would have made like the sickest like ender. Like I can't believe this isn't the outro, right? And then to your point, you're kind of like hoping there's gonna be more of that, and then lo and behold, the last song comes up, and there's like not like the same kind of part, but like a very outro-y type of part to the second half of the last song of the album, and I was like, yes. You know, so, mission accomplished, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
That was the fourth song we wrote for it. So the end of the album has been, and we knew it was going to be the end. The end has been like set in stone from pretty close to the beginning. The first 4 songs definitely took the least amount of time to write.
Did that come easily, kind of picking the order and how it would be, or was that more like just a big discussion, making decisions and stuff like that?
There a couple of people had a couple of songs where they were like, it's really important to me that this goes there. And luckily, they all pretty much lined up. And the other ones were like, what it came down to was like, I kind of like this here, but I don't, if it's important to you, then it's not that important to me. So, okay. You know, so that came together really well. There's actually a fair amount of stuff that like was almost like afterthought level of putting it in that like amazingly like really came together. Like there's just so many things that like all the snare bombs and all the bass drops and stuff were done in like the last 10 minutes of us working on the album. We're just like, oh well, we kind of marked some of this stuff before. We have the sounds we like, let's just put a bunch of them in. And then there were a couple parts where we're like at the very last few minutes of working on the album, and we were like, 3 snare bombs in a row. boom, 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 you know, and they came out. I think it all came together good.
Does make a difference though. Those
Yeah.
things makes in terms of like I notice these things personally, and it does make a big difference. Sometimes like your part hit way harder just with some little additions like that.
Yeah.
So
And we didn't want to do the extermination dismemberment bass drop where like you can't hear the riff.
Mhm.
Well, we initially did, but then we were like, none of our riffs last long enough for the bass drop to hit. So you would
Bass drop
literally
is two
miss
riffs
like
long, yeah.
yeah, you would miss parts of the song. So we decided that, and I think it sounds better this way anyway.
It's so,
We
it's so
decided to have
chaotic.
more like
It's so
sub
chaotic
drops.
too, right? Like having the bass drop overtake the Boy Will Drown Beneath the Massacre-esque type of
would be
riff. You're
weird.
like, okay, well, what am I
Yeah.
even listening to? You know, like
Yeah, it would be really weird.
uh,
So I think that came together really good. And there's just there's the bass drops and snare bombs thing still makes me laugh. Just because we had stressed so much about it, and then like so much other stuff got piled on us with the mix and all that stuff. And then we were like right at the end of it, and we were like, oh shit, let's just like do
let's just do these.
let's just do these other things that we've never done before.
Mhm.
You know, it's worked out so far. So
it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
you were also talking about influences, right? Earlier, you said like I think one of the members was, you know, influenced by other style. I'd be curious to know about you specifically. You did talked about black metal and stuff like that. Do you
Oh, yeah.
would you say as a bassist or writer or anything? Do you have maybe other styles of music that people would be surprised, maybe, or is it more in metal that has an influence on
I guess
your writing?
metal's my favorite, and it's the one that has the biggest influence. I'd say like one of the music I listen to is like at least 50% it's just metal. But I like lots of like synth pop and EDM, just like easy, especially this time of year. It's just like easy listening stuff. Drab Majesty, like Corey, and I'm really into like Paul Simon and Neil Diamond and like that stuff that my parents are into.
Cool.
And that stuff, obviously, like sonically, the influence doesn't come out. But the sense, especially with Paul Simon, his album Graceland is just like the most insane. I mean, it's like a pop rock album kind of, but it's like the most insane shit I've ever heard.
Mhm.
And just
Yeah,
like the way parts are bridged is just genius, you know. And this is on a macro scale compared to what we're doing. We're fusing different styles of rock or metal music. But he was like going to Africa and like recording music with people from Africa who he had never talked to before. And he was like finding ways for like his Western song structures to fit into their African rhythms that are just like totally musically a world away. And just stuff like that. And the end result is an incredibly catchy pop rock album that is not difficult to listen to. And then when you try to play it, it's like I can't. I'm gonna go back to Archfire because I can't figure this out. You know?
Yeah, sometimes it's you think the things are simple, and then you try to play, and
Yeah.
you're like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. So that
Yeah,
stuff's
they make
super.
it they make it look easy, you know.
Mhm. And then that stuff's super influential on me. Andrea's really into like lots of pop punk and stuff like that, and he tries to keep that like attitude of catchiness and infuse that into our kind of over the top sound.
Mhm.
Which, you know, we don't have like big verses and choruses, but the way the different parts are bridged a lot of the time is like Andrea being like, okay, I have this like pop punk song I'm really into, and we got to study how they move the verse into the chorus and
Mhm.
stuff like that, which he's really good with. He's, when it comes to songwriting, I think he's definitely the big brain, you know?
That's cool to hear because it was important for me to ask because and I'm sure you guys have noticed, but every single time there's a band who really does this differently. Every band is going to tell you that their music is different. I know that, but bands that are really actually different, they're going to have influences that are all over the place, and it's going to be outside of metal. If you start a band and you're like, hey, so we're going to do like Whitechapel, right? Like it's fun. You can do that. It's okay. But it's just, I mean, we have Whitechapel and then plenty of bands. So very often, every single time I latch onto something, like you talked about pop punk, and one of my bands that I really like is called Belmont, and it's really different.
Oh
and it's
yeah, they're
weird.
awesome.
and they're making, and it's not, I'm saying it's pop punk, but you would click play and it's like, it's very special. And I'm sure I would ask these guys, and it's all the influence are all over the place. Like that's a really it's just a common theme. So I love knowing from, you know, where it's coming from, right? Outside of the obvious. So
yeah, and I think Stefan comes more from like more of like a rock background, and he just has that like virtuosic sort of guitar thing going on. So a lot of times if like we're struggling to like figure out a shape, or like we know what's going to sound good, he'll be like, oh, that's an inverted poop fart chord, I'll just play one right now. You know, like that sort of stuff is like, he's great with that. Like Alice, everything. Yeah, he knows everything. Alice definitely comes more from like a black metal background. So when it comes to like setting a mood or like setting a tone, like that's stuff that's like burned into her brain, you know? Mm-hmm. And like, especially with her vocals, like I think that there's this like mournful, like shrieking, like reverbed out kind of sound that she makes that I think really is a big part of why we sound different. It's like, we're not just going into a melodic section, we're going into a melodic section that sounds like someone's arms are being ripped off.
Mm-hmm. You know? That you were talking about that, like that kind of vocal, like at the end of "I Want You Fucking Dead," right? That's a lot of Alice, right? Yeah, the end of that song, the end of Trauma Queen, and the end of Schematics is all Alice. Mm. And it's just so, it's like so convincingly pained that I just think it's awesome. You know, a lot of deathcore, like in my opinion, doesn't even sound upset. You know, it sounds competently performed. You know, and then you start to get into bands that sound convincingly angry. But with her, it's like it sounds like really painful, which I'm not really sure if it is, but it just like is awesome, you know. And I think really like lends a very serious edge to those parts.
You have a good point though, because I think I would qualify it as a lot of it is, it's kind of mechanical in the sense that it's like, it's more of a let's do that kind of part type thing instead of just like you're feeling it and you're just not, because I feel like as much as it's cool we had an entire conversation about thinking and being thoughtful, I feel like the music itself though, like the performing of it, you know, I think sometimes less thinking and more feeling the parts is going to come across better for the audience. So I think you do have a point of just like, you can tell those bands are like, oh, that's going to be the over the top breakdown, and then you're going to do the over the top vocal, instead of just like comes to the boot and just like boom, and it comes out in a certain way, right? So to your point, I think that's kind of what's happening in a lot of moments.
And I think the stream of consciousness writing style that we tend to do really helps us avoid the pitfall of like obligatory things that like sell, I guess, but aren't necessarily what we want to hear. You know, it's like we made the conscious decision not to use like big synths or anything like the Lorna Shore kind of synths. I'm glad because I just, you know, I just not. Yeah, it's not our thing. But then we ran into parts where like they very easily could have been used in some of our parts. "I Want You Fucking Dead" could have been a whole ass synth outro for sure. It could have been a whole thing. So then it's like this like rule we set to try to avoid something helped us come up with new ways to achieve something we liked even more to serve the same purpose. You know, there's so many layers of guitar that are just like with the. If I could show you, I would, the project file with all the layers and all the like little baby green automation tracks that are just going up and down and up and down. It's like it's insane to get all those guitar leads weaving in and out, and then like making room for the bass, and then immediately cutting it off to bring one guitar part back up, and just stuff like that, where it's like we very easily could have programmed that all with MIDI on a synth and just not done any of that work. But we decided to track 10 layers of guitar, and we made something that I think is way cooler and sticks out way more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to some extent, we can actually play live without a click. You know?
Sure.
Because I've been in bands with clicks, and I mean, if you can spend the money and get a really good system, you'll do great. But the average band, in my opinion, does not have the budget to be running a click live because it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, there's like, you know, if like just the drummer is on a click, and then,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and then, you know, at least there's like some semblance of, but you know,
Oh, I think that helps a lot. But I mean, like a million backing tracks and like writing music that you technically can't really perform without the aid of something that you can't always afford, you know?
Because you guys could, I mean, look, someone in the exact same scenario as you, writing the same album that you did, could go at this with the attitude of, I'm going to put 8 of those guitars on the backing track, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying that because it's a mindset thing, because a lot of bands would do it to sound more like the album or whatever. But, you know, that's obviously not what you guys are looking to do, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we want something that can be replicated. And for the most part, we wrote layers that just turning them into chords, because they're technically not chords on the release. Turning them into chords could cut back on the number of guitars that we have to have playing it. But I was just really happy with the couple of rules we set for ourselves, like really later on entering that stream of consciousness.
Do you have other rules like that? I'd be curious.
Oh yeah. We broke this one once, but we have no slams.
Okay.
We have the one slam in I Want You Fucking Dead, and it immediately gets overtaken by Andrea screaming and Stefan sweet picking. But we were like, oh, like slam's great. Like I love Devourment, like Artery Eruption and that stuff. But I feel like deathcore, and especially hardcore or like hardcore or whatever nowadays, it's literally just slam, but they have a different singer. Like it's just all slam riffs, you know? And that's cool. I like them, but we didn't want to be a part of that. So we were like, no slams. We're going to write something super brutal that takes a lot from death metal, and we're not going to get into that territory at all. And when we do, it'll be right before the sad part. You know,
and it won't be long. Yeah.
Yeah, and it won't be long. And yeah, stuff like that. So.
I think it's, by the way, because we were talking, like I always make jokes, right? Like when you said like no sense, I was just like, thank God. But like I just want to emphasize that like my initial reaction very often to that is it doesn't mean that the bands that are doing it are not cool, right? Like I still think Lorna, Shadow, all those bands are awesome, but that's my point. They're great at it and they're already doing it. So having 50 billion people just trying to do the same thing, and I'm really sorry to say that, just not as good, isn't really interesting to me, especially when we've got the amazing bands doing it already. I just wanted to say that point because I've been noticing, I keep saying like, oh, no sense. I look like that dude who's just like, that's bad. It's really good when it's in context, and those bands are great at it. So
yeah. And if it's your thing, then by all means do it. But you know, also maybe stay conscious that the people who are the best at doing it are doing this music at the absolute highest level. So also maybe don't do it. But it happens to not be our thing, so we didn't. You know,
I'd be curious because we're talking about a lot of things that the music is not, or these rules and stuff. But outside looking in, for me, and I guess the what's a big part of the appeal for me listening to the music, I feel like it's kind of a love letter to 2010, 11, 12, maybe 13 technical deathcore, a la Australian tech death scene, 100%. Where you're talking like The Boy Will Drown. So I'd love to talk about that just a second. Like, are there influences in there that you guys are kind of like fishing at, or stuff that you guys are all kind of on board with? Because I think that's like a different conversation. Like doing stuff that sounds like stuff that already exists but hasn't been done in over a decade. That's cool to me, right?
Yeah,
that's a different conversation than doing Lorna Shore in 2025, right?
Totally. I mean, we all like studied at the University of Infinite Death, you know.
There we
that's
go.
Like that's all. And I actually, one of us, I actually don't remember who, is like across the board is really into thy art. I really like Infinite Death. I love that one. And then Adversary is really good. Hate's really good. And I kind of fell off after that. But Infinite Death was like, I heard that was the first one I heard, and I was like, I want so much more of this. And then for the most part, I never got it.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a big one. We were like, there's a style and an attitude, like with the atmospheric parts. You know, we didn't want them to be sad, like we wanted them to be tragic. You know, and with Infinite Death, like we didn't want the brutal parts to be just like misanthropic. You know, we wanted to be like abusive. You know, like really
psychotic, basically,
truly
like just...
mean spirited. You know,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
that was a huge influence on it. You know, with just like really like unpleasant lyrics and just like it's almost like elitist in its technicality, where it's giving off a little bit of like don't even try to do this sort of vibe, like a little bit of arrogance, you know. And that was a big thing for us. It was like evoking that same sort of feeling of just like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's the only way
it's abrasive, right? It's like
it's very
psychotic.
abrasive.
It's I don't know. Yeah. It's
You listen to Infinite Death, and it's like some in my life. By the way, some of my favorite vocals I've ever heard. The first vocalist they had, the artist just like Brandon, it was incredible. But like it literally, you could tell someone that the person screaming is a serial killer, and I think the person would believe you if you say that, like outside of the scene. The person would be like, oh yeah, I can hear it
100%.
So it's to your point, because earlier you did talk about the fact that sometimes it doesn't sound like maybe mean enough or angry enough. Infinite Death is a perfect example of just like, I don't think you can sound more pissed and crazy than that. So
100%. That one was a big influence. And Beneath the Massacre as well was a really big one. And then also like stuff like Necrophagist or Archfire, like Tech Death. Like especially when we would finish something and like start going into a new one, we were like, how can we start this off to ensure that there will never be a guitar cover posted? You know,
you have quite a few songs that it like you say that, and it makes so much sense, because there are a lot of the songs, half the songs at least, that it's like from the get-go, like craziest fucking thing you've ever heard.
Like really ridiculous, like short, like 3 to 5 second instrumental hooks that like in their own like little fucked up tech death world are gonna operate a little bit like a catchy melody that starts off a Taylor Swift song or something.
It's the Mr. Beast YouTube video intro for music.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you want something that's like either you really like this, or like this is like barely registers as art to you. You know.
Yeah, you gotta set the expectations straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think we did. I think our songs have really good, really distinct intros, which was a big thing for me. You know,
we were talking earlier about stories and stuff like that. Like the intro, it's like you're not building suspense, but like you're kind of setting the table. It's hard to explain, but it is important to just like, you're bringing someone in that world, especially with you guys, that each song, and again, it's something that everybody's going to say, I know, but in your case, it's true. Like each song is really its own thing. You're going in different places. So in those specific cases, I feel like the intro is even more important to be, to set it up properly so that it feels natural, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I was surprised you guys didn't lead with the first single being one of those crazy intro songs. What was the thinking behind Bombing Eden as the first single?
That was another one with like it may come off as like kind of a weird attitude or a weird outlook to have for it, but we didn't. If we're going to have people that we're going to bring in based on our first song, like we want them to be on board with a song that is good and catchy and we put a lot of work into, but isn't going to breach any of the territory that we're eventually going to bring you to. You know, we didn't want something that starts off with crazy sweeping, but we wanted something that starts off with something difficult. You know, we wanted something that has a big ending that you're going to remember, but we don't want it to take you far away from the genre at all. You know, I have a big issue, and especially with metal, bands tend to drop the 3 best songs of their album, and then you end up with a bunch of pretty good songs.
Bands are putting out like 6 singles before an album drops now. It's fucking crazy too.
Half of the album.
That too. Yeah, and we wanted to just put one out that we were very confident that it was a catchy, good song, and that people who like deathcore would like it, and people who like us would like it. But we didn't want to lead. We didn't want to show like really any of the cards other than that we're a deathcore band.
Yeah, and I mean the album came out a week after anyway, so it's not like you weren't holding people over for too long.
Yeah, and then we immediately put it out. So, but yeah, that was kind of the thought process. It's just bringing people in based off of something that's very good but doesn't go the distance.
Do you have any specific, because like I'm sure you guys were reading the comments and the reactions and stuff like that, do you have maybe in mind some of your, without being too specific, but some of your favorite reaction, kind of like, oh my god, they get it, they got it, that's what we wanted, or maybe even being surprised, like, oh my god, I didn't think we would be, I don't know, like compared to that or classify as that or whatever. Do you have things in mind that
yeah, definitely. We had a comment where someone was like, damn, welcome back, Signal the Firing Squad. And I was like, whoa.
Yes, sir.
That's really sick.
There's like some breakdown stuff that is like very Signal the Firing Squad, like in the kind of the patterns and how how do you say it? Like it's very choppy, you know, it's cut up super straight. I don't know. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Some of the language used in a couple of the reviews online was just like really kind of awe-inspiring to me. Like someone, you know, plenty of people have said that like albums are good, but like someone said in one of them that like Coma Witch rejects every notion of failure, you know, which is just like so eloquent and like, you know, and like people, we had someone message the page being like, oh, I just posted your album on Reddit and I'm trying to like help get people on board, which was super nice. So then I went to the Reddit post he had and like seeing complete strangers typing onto Reddit, sober up, bitch. You know, it's like really, I just think it's really funny and just like really cool. And people are connecting with it and they have like specific favorite parts of songs, you know. Yeah. And one of my friends posted on her story today saying just like, it's kind of shitting on some other stuff, but just being like this is actual fucking riffs, you know, and like stuff like that. That makes me really, really happy. You know, people talking about people who don't care for deathcore, talking about how like, if you want to listen to deathcore, this is where you should go, you know, and they're not saying it because they like me, because they don't really know me. So.
But so I think that is something to be said though. Like I think deathcore is a lot of things right now, but it's not a lot of things as well. Like it's pretty homogenous. Like there's like a couple pockets of deathcore right now that seemingly every band on the face of the earth is doing. So I think a lot of people get maybe turned away from deathcore from those because it's like those specific things. Like if someone in 2025 thinks of deathcore, they're probably thinking Lorna Shore. And if you're not into like that specific thing, which is like broadly speaking kind of niche, right? And like not what deathcore was forever up until a couple of years ago, you might write off deathcore as a whole because your image of deathcore is Lorna Shore of today, right? But I think a comment like that kind of illustrates that sort of thing as well, right? Where it's like, again, to harp back on the fact that it feels like a lot of the influences that are coming in from deathcore and stuff are from an olden time that is not being represented at all
definitely.
In deathcore right now. Like it's a lot of MySpace deathcore or symphonic or slam. That's kind of like the three pockets right now. And the kind of tech deathcore has been a thing lacking since
underrepresented
since like 2012 13. Like I've been longing for it, man. That's my shit. You know, I can't shut up about it. Yan knows this. So to finally hear a band like that, I'm like, yes, somebody's tapping into it finally.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things we saw in one of the reviews too, was that because this was like in my head the entire time, was that it doesn't really like they could spend time saying all the bands it reminds them of, but it reminds them of an era when this music sounded a certain way, which happens to be my favorite era of deathcore. And it was just nice that someone immediately picked up on that, you know, and they weren't like, welcome the new the clone of Beneath the Massacre. you know,
Mhm.
but gee, this band really loves Beneath the Mask, or they were like, this band loves the way music sounded at that time, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what we're trying to do. And it was awesome to see that people picked up on that, you know.
There's like also it's like teetering the line on like it's not I don't know, it's a weird thing to define, but like the revival scene is like a thing that's popping off,
Yeah,
and we're super invested in all that because we love that era of deathcore, and you know, seeing the kids bring that sort of sound back has been a really cool thing to see.
it's
But
crazy.
and I feel like you guys might get lumped into that, even though you guys aren't really. It's like
Yeah,
a
we do.
different. It's a throwback thing, but it's not at all what everyone in like everyone's
not even
doing
the same
like
era.
Suicide Silence, Chelsea Grin EP, and this is
Yeah.
like this is 10 years later.
Yeah,
inspo,
it's
right?
weird. We get described a bunch on almost everything I've seen. Anyone talking about us, it's always revival deathcore and MySpace deathcore. And while there's plenty of MySpace deathcore that we love, and technically it is revival deathcore because it's not happening anymore, like we're not really those things,
Yeah.
you know?
Or in the Psycho Frame section to me. Like Psycho Frame
Yeah.
gets always like, oh, they're revival, but are they? Like, not if
Not
you pay
really.
attention, not really.
Yeah.
So
I think-
I'm not to say you're like Psycho Frame, by the way. I'm just saying like I would classify you guys closer to something like Psycho Frame than like the whole revival person.
Yeah. I think Psychoframe gets bunched into that a lot too, because they just have that attitude, you know, like they seem like they come from that time, I guess. But that's another band where like they get described as something that just completely doesn't track the same way in my head.
Yeah.
But like with Hate Campaign, I've been out a bunch to California, like the LA scene, played with a bunch of those bands, and they're like, it's pretty amazing how much that is popping off over there. You know, just like the amount of people at some of those shows.
Dude,
it's crazy.
Did you guys see any of the footage from any of the past 3 Girl of Glass shows that happened in the past 3 days?
Yeah.
Like 1720 in LA. I don't know what the cap is, but it's fucking massive. Girl of Glass headliner. And it's like, it's got to be close to like 1,000 cap. It's like it's just a big old fucking box. And like, sold out, people going fucking crazy. A Girl of Glass headliner. They've got like 7.5 minutes of released music.
It's insane.
What the fuck is going on, right? So it's so cool to see. And you know, obviously there was a bunch of other really cool bands on those shows, and Which Divides Us was on those too. But it's been so cool, man, to see like how many, like how massive these crowds, like how many kids are really being drawn out to these shows for fucking MySpace style deathcore, man. It's so cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, I think it's super inspiring, and a lot of the people in the bands are so young, and I just think that's awesome. I don't know. I think it is like a very niche thing, but when you're in that room, like the last time I was at 1720, I was like Reverent and Victim Blamed and Which Divides Us. It was a shitload of bands. I've like definitely did permanent damage moshing at that show. And it's just like, it does not feel like a niche thing when you're there. Like it feels like these people who are like 14 are like on top of the world, you know?
Yeah.
And it just makes me excited. I mean, I know not all the bands will stick around forever, but it makes me excited for the future, because they're not going to be doing MySpace revival forever. You know, so I'm excited to see what they all.
They're gonna find their thing, I think.
I think so.
Each of them, so
you know, and Reverend's about to tour with Psychoframe, actually.
Yes,
you know, that's a big fucking step. So that's really cool.
I didn't think something like that would ever happen. I was convinced that Psychoframe would never really tour with other deathcore bands.
Yeah,
but it's cool to see out of all the bands, it's really cool to see that Reverend's doing this thing with them, because I think Reverend are really at the top of the game for that kind of music, and they're different enough from Psychoframe for it to be like a super cool thing, and like the fans from both will appreciate the other without it having to be like just a, you know, something that's too similar between the two bands. I'm really
100%.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. I have more of a maybe like personal question, but we were talking about the comments and stuff like that, and you've put so much work right through during all those years and stuff. I'm guessing the people around you were probably not relieved, but probably so happy for you, right? I mean, your people close to you when you were about to release that, they know all the work you've put in, right? So
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was a trip. Like everybody around you were probably like, "You're there, like you did it,"
It
type
was
thing.
like, hey, it's the first
It was-
time he's at family dinner in 3 years.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really felt like that. Like a lot of my friends I didn't see for a long time, and it was like rightfully pissing some of them off. I think all of us in the band definitely throughout this whole process had relationships totally deteriorate, some of which will not be repaired. You know, so there's some loss in it, but at the same time, like coming out of it has been really nice. And a lot of my friends, you know, I, they think metal is cool because they know it's important to me, but that's not really their bag, you know. And having so many of them like really take the time to like listen to it and have their own favorite songs, you know, um, it's been pretty awesome.
It's almost even worth, like, not that it's worth more, but like when someone goes out of their way, you know, they don't even like,
Yeah,
they don't listen
yeah.
to that, they don't even like it. You
They
know
don't
what I
gotta.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And still, it's like they care enough about you to be like, I'm gonna listen to it. It's really,
yeah,
it's really
for
cool.
sure. And when you know, like that's the way I know is if someone's like more or less listened to the whole thing, is if they bring up what movie, or also if they really know me, they bring up what movie the samples are from.
Mm.
You know, and stuff like that. So if they're like, oh, the True Detective sample, like I know they got almost to the end of the album at least, you know, and that they know me enough to know they really like that show.
They get it.
And they
type
get
of-
they understand the vision, you know.
Yeah, they've heard you quote the show so much that they
Yeah,
recognize the
exactly.
sample. They
Exactly.
didn't actually know how the sample sounded like, but they've heard the quote before.
Yeah, that was the case for the Sopranos one, and I Want You Fucking Dead. It won't be cinematic. I say that a fair amount, just 'cause I think it's really funny, and I don't think any of my friends know the reference.
Like what it came from. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
and then they hear like an older guy in one of our songs, like an Italian guy saying it. They're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
You know,
they,
it's
they,
from-
they
that's
got this
from a
voice
thing.
actor to say the line.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
That was
yeah, it's
fucking
been really
funny, man.
nice. I think people are very relieved, and I think they're very happy for me too.
Mhm.
We've all
That's
come
cool,
out of
right?
this really proud of each other too.
All right, let's kind of land the plane here. I've got some a little bit of some rapid fire stuff, questions from Instagram that I
Sure.
pulled up here, so we could kind of end on some quick bits. That sound
Let's
good?
do it. Yeah.
All right. So I want you to. I was debating if whether deathcore specific or not, but I'd be curious from a deathcore perspective, just because it's a deathcore show. Top 5 deathcore bassists. Go.
Ooh, shit. I don't know. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know a lot of names,
prog
honestly.
bands, yeah.
The guy from The Boy Will Drown is
Mm.
definitely up there. The bassist from As Blood Runs Black, I love. I think he's super tasteful. I'm sure some of these bands have had so many bass players.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff is super, super tasteful. I've never really thought too much about this before.
You got
Shit.
bands that like there's like a bass tone or something that you're like, oh, this band has a dope bass tone, you know?
I guess, I mean, for deathcore, a lot of the time, like it's almost like a lack of bass tone that
Absolutely.
like gets me. Where it's
Damn,
like, if
I thought the bassist could point us in the right
Well, if you're
direction with the
feeling it on
few
some-
diamonds in the roughs, you know?
no, I mean, so a lot of the time with deathcore, it's like if I can feel it like in my cheekbones, but I can't hear anything, like that's my favorite bass sound.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I'm trying to think of who would be my favorite deathcore bassist. Whoever played bass in Suicide Silence, I mean, especially on The Cleansing, like that's a bass tone, you know, that like perfectly melds with the guitars. For the breakdowns, it just sounds like one big guitar, but just that like saturated top end of it, whenever it's coming through, like it sounds like when you're eating a steak and you get like cartilage stuck in your tooth. You know, it's just like really like visceral and nasty. So yeah, whoever played on that album, 100%. this isn't a deathcore band, but they are death metal, hardcore, and tech death adjacent.
Sure.
Those are the three things they do. But Delaquest from Australia,
Okay, I don't
their
know these guys.
bassist, yeah, their bassist Armando is like, it's his playing. I guess what I would say is somewhat similar to Archfire, but it's like really like, as opposed to Archfire almost feeling like classical music-ish, his is like really dissonant and just like harmonically dense and strange. And it's like very virtuosic. It's very impressive, but like there's something like really otherworldly about it. And they're a little bit more in that, like probably closer to like Suffocation. They have that same sort of attitude, but him for sure. And he's, correct me if I'm wrong if he sees this, I'm pretty sure he's like 20 or 21, which is crazy.
What was the name of the band again?
Delaquest.
Okay,
I know them too.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
They put out a record within the last few months. It's another album. It has this like sickly yellow, like lurid color scheme.
Okay.
That's just so fucking cool. But yeah, his bass playing so my favorite. And for the fourth, this is weird for putting so much work into deathcore bass. I've never thought about this before.
Five was an arbitrary number.
Well, this is a band who I admittedly don't particularly like, but has an amazing bass player who comes from a band I love, Fit for an Autopsy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Their bassist Blue, who I'm pretty sure he still plays in Dysentery, but they're local to me, just like one of the sickest slam bands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't, maybe I'm salty that Dysentery doesn't really gig much now because he's off touring the world. But he's just like one of the most like in the pocket, like the stuff with Fit for an Autopsy, like the bass is like just like impossibly tight. It's like he might not be doing all that stuff, but it's like performed to a much greater level, in my opinion, than most people.
The more Fit for an Autopsy progresses, the more space there is for a musician like a bassist to your point,
definitely
be in the pocket, right? As opposed
definitely,
to,
yeah.
It breathes a lot more. There's more of a groove thing.
Yeah, and I listen to so much, like I'm really into like brutal death metal, like Disgorge type of stuff, where like it's almost more impressive at this point to hear someone be really in the pocket than to hear someone do just everything the guitar can do. Yeah. And he really hits that spot.
Be like crazy tight, but that's it. There's no
that's so impressive. Yeah.
Okay, we had dogs or cats and favorite cigarette brand.
Okay. Why are those things all together? Like,
I don't make the rules. I just read the question.
I have definitely have answers for that. I think I'm more of a dog person, but in terms of just like the pace of my life, I could only like ever have cats. Just because I don't really like I'm out all the time. You know, I'm like up early, go to bed late if I go to bed at all. I think I would stress it if I had my own dog. Like my parents have dogs, but if they were my dogs only, I think it would be like I'd stress them out too much.
It'd be miserable for them.
Yeah.
Like, I keep saying, and I'm not talking in terms of love, I'm talking in terms of responsibility. Having a dog is like having a baby, and a cat is like a roommate almost in terms of just like they're doing their things. Like it's just they're chilling, but the dog have to go outside. Like you have like it's like you cannot just be like, oh, I'm leaving for a few days. Like that just doesn't work like that. I mean, you can, but it's gonna be a disaster. So that's. Yeah,
I don't smoke cigarettes, but I do have a favorite, very specific cigarette. The Dunhill Blacks. Okay. As somebody who thinks cigarettes are pretty gross, they are one of the most satisfying things you can ingest. They're just like can you feel like Indiana Jones.
I love that you have an answer for that. Like, I absolutely love that you have a specific answer, and it's a good one for that specific.
They're really good.
I'm curious.
I'm really curious too.
Do you have the Dunhill Black perfume?
I do not. I didn't even know they made perfume.
Wow.
This makes me wonder what else they make.
The cigarette perfume, that's a new one for me.
Is it the company also makes perfume, or is it perfume that's made to smell like their cigarettes?
I don't know. Hey, they sell it on Amazon too.
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's from the brand, so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's all kind of just the same chemical products. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened in Houston, Texas? And then someone sent me a photo of a car with a jacked window.
Yeah, that was fucked up. We played like one of the best shows ever. It was like us. This was a hate campaign. It was us, Execution, Sewed Up, Victim Blamed, and Reverend. It was a crazy ass show. It was amazing. We got the biggest and cheapest hotel room I've ever been in for that night. It was just like it was an amazing, beautiful night. And then out on the way out of Houston, we just stopped to get a sandwich. Talk about rookie mistakes. I left some of my stuff in the same bag as like my wallet and my ID and everything. And just because I was grabbing it so much, and my pedal board was also in there, and just plenty of equipment was in there. And I was just being an idiot. And I didn't put it in the trailer itself. Someone just smashed it in, stole a bunch of our shit.
Including the wallet.
Yeah, including the wallet, which is like, I had to fly home. I figured it out. But it was fucked up. But the silver lining though to that was, as horrible as it was really nice to see everyone's response to it and how sympathetic people were, people making donations and like really cleaning us out of merch and stuff like that. Especially with our band and like the attitude we have, it's like real, like fuck you to the max. That was really awesome. And I did build a way cooler pedal board after the fact.
And he's been getting robbed every tour since.
Ever since then. Yeah. I'm just leaving stuff in the backpack every time. And we luckily this was awesome. I don't have one on me, but we got these hate campaign logo stickers that we all unanimously agreed were just the nicest band stickers any of us had ever seen. And the one thing that survived that windshield
is that sticker, right? I saw it.
The little hate campaign sticker. Yeah. But yeah, that was fucked up. But you know, you live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Next time we do it, we're gonna be smarter. All
right, last one here. How much does Edwardo weigh? Needs specific equation.
Oh my god. I don't know. I don't know anything about how much Edwardo weighs. It's definitely more than me.
Okay.
Eduardo's a big guy, and if he's watching this, he just could certainly kick my ass. So definitely.
You don't want the smoke.
He's way smarter, sexier, and bigger and cooler than me. So
there we go.
Just in case he sees it.
All right.
Should be safe.
Yeah. You should be safe. Yeah. We won't tattle. It's fine. Dude, thank you so much for doing this, man.
Sick.
This has been awesome. Man. Yeah. I'm really, really thankful for you guys having me on, and that you like the album so much. Because we're gonna keep getting crazier.
That's what I like to hear. Hell yeah.
And we're gonna be right there, you know, like we're meeting you today, but it's gonna be we're stoked, but we know there's gonna be plenty of other episodes in the future with you guys, like 1,000%.
100%. That'd be awesome.
We're fucking here for it, man. I'm so happy for you guys to finally have been able to push through it and to actually have it out and to have the reaction it's been getting so far. And yeah, we're right there with you guys if you guys ever need anything. So we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
100%.
Oh
yeah, it's great talking to you guys.
Hell yeah, man. We'll talk soon. All right.
Talk soon.
All right,
care, man.
Peace.
Bye.
If you made it to the end of this episode, thank you for watching. And hey, while you're here, hit that subscribe or follow button and a review. If you're watching or listening on a podcast platform, it would mean the world and it helps out more than you know. A big thank you as well to all of our supporters over on Patreon and on Twitch. New episodes every week, links to our Patreon, Discord, and socials in the description. We'll see you soon. We're out.